Okay, I have a 2003 Honda Element, and it's a 4-speed transmission called an MZKA. I have it on the bench here, down and cleaned, because this thing landed on my bench about 9 in the morning the other day, and I really can't, I couldn't afford to wait to do a teardown video because it's pretty crazy here, and for the first time in a while I actually got 5 units on the bench. Between the 3 benches, 4L60E, a ZF8 HP 45 out of a BMW, the Honda. I got a regular 700 R4 and a 5R55S out of a Mustang. So it's pretty crazy here. So I want to do a quick highlight video on this MZKA. Pretty much with this, it really didn't move that great. They kind of just drove this thing until it really wasn't moving. The second clutch is completely wiped out. The third clutch is completely wiped out. Clutches, steels. I actually had to get snap rings and pressure plates coming from the dealer. The pressure plates on these are selective, so if come time, that's with any Honda. So you do have to measure it. They do want the measurement in millimeters. But they kind of go up by like 1 step. It would be like 2.8, 2.9, 3, 3.1, 3.2. So they're definitely going to want a measurement on a pressure plate if you need one. So I'm going to get a little closer, and pretty much the drums are on the secondary shaft and on the main shaft. The first and second drum are on the secondary shaft, and the third and fourth drum, which is a double drum, is on the main shaft. Now, might be a typo, I'm not sure. When I called my supplier and I told him that I had a Honda Element MZKA, I told him it was an 03, and then he had in his book listed 07 to 11, and I says, no, it's definitely an 03. So we went through the VIN number, and of course it is an 03. So he had said, you know, wow, I have it listed 2 different ways. I have an MZKA from, you know, 03 to 05 as a 4-speed, and I have it listed at 07 to 11 as a 5-speed. So I'm not sure. This is definitely an 03, but I'm not sure about the 07 to 11. But if you're, you know, ever ordering parts and stuff, it's probably best to have your VIN number, just so there's no mistakes. Alright, so let me go a little closer here. I'll show you these clutches. Stuff's, like I said, wiped out pretty good. We'll go over the valve body. I really can't take the valve body apart, but what I can probably do is continue with the filming maybe tomorrow or the next day, because I got to clear some of the stuff up first, so I have room to put the valve body once it's apart, the bolts and everything like that. But we'll go over it quick, the different sections. And let me get a little closer. I will be right back. Okay, so first on the secondary shaft, okay, you have the first and second clutch drum, and this also is one, you know, this unit is very similar to like a BCLA. I believe I have a teardown video on that. Let me just back out a little bit here. Okay, so this also is one where the second clutch sits. It has this collar, and you want to make sure that this collar inside here is groove free, and change these O-rings as well. Alright, so it's pretty much just sits here, and the bearing sits on top, and then your lock goes in and your bolts. Alright, so the second clutch drum, is going to sit here, and it goes on this way, and the first clutch drum is going to come on through this side. This washer here is built in, okay, and then you have a snap ring to hold the drum in place. And also on the first and second clutch drum, it comes through with these balance pistons, which come in the banner kit. I do believe they are both the same size. And these are the clutches for second. Pressure plate is wiped out. Has this little thin wavy wire, which seems okay, but I mean there's absolutely nothing left of these clutches at all. Okay, same setup for first. They do have material, but the steels looks like they got very hot. So I actually got a master kit for this, so we're changing all the steels. Okay, and here is the first clutch drum. All right, and like I said, this is gonna come on this way and kind of sit here. And this other clutch drum comes on, gets installed right there. All right, your power shaft, pretty much just gears on here, reverse gear, and a bunch of these little drive gears here, big drive gears. Okay, main shaft, third and fourth clutch drum. Your third is going to be facing down. Fourth is going to be facing up, fourth clutch. Okay, I found, actually also I'm getting a piston for third because the piston was pretty beat up. This is what's left of the seal for third. And these are pretty bad as well. I mean, there's absolutely nothing. It's all steel. Steel against steel. And I got to get this pressure plate, snap ring. And this is the third, fourth clutch drum. Okay, so the side with no splines is third. Side with the splines is fourth. Okay, so it looks like they tried to do some repairs, changing these solenoids. I'm going to say these are not, these things are nice shiny chrome, which looks great, but I'm saying these are not OE solenoids, so I don't really even care to put these back. So I called the wholesale account to the repair shop to see if they could possibly get me the original ones back. I don't think that the linears are the problem. So these are probably like the made in China ones, which I really don't want to use. That is linear B and C. This is linear, should be linear A. Okay, you got your tubes here. And this has the internal solenoids. So we have another harness like this. And I'll go over those solenoids with you. All right, one update that would have to be done is these have those tube sets that like to break. So they call it a pipe joint set. So I have that coming from the dealer as well. All right, so these are the old ones and I got the new ones coming. So when I took these out, if you can see this here, this was already split apart. So definitely getting the new set for that. That'll be here today. That stuff's coming. All right, now we'll just pull this valve body up here, but again, we will probably take this apart, clear some of these units up, and I plan on doing that today and tomorrow, but just to go over these sections of the valve body and your shift solenoids. All right, does that look good? All right, let me just make sure that everything is in view here. Let me just take a look, give me 1 second. Okay, so real quick, this is the servo body. Underneath that goes across the whole length, is the main valve body, and this is the regulator valve body. Only 3 sections to this one. All right, and you have 4 solenoids. All right, so this is A, black one, B, C, and E. And E, I believe, is the lockup solenoid. All right, so what we're going to do is we'll take this valve body apart, like I said, probably tomorrow. And those are the sections of the valve body. Not a bad transmission to work on. It has the 1-piece, you know, this is considered probably a 2-piece case versus the 3-piece case. So this main case here, you know, once you put this in, it's just a cover that goes on top, and then there is a snap ring for the bearing to go through, and you got to just spread the snap ring open, the case will drop down, and then the cover will go on. So it's considered, it's a 4-speed MZKA 2-piece case. Okay, so let me just show you one more thing here. Alright, so if you have to service the shift solenoids or the lockup solenoids, you can do that through this cover. The connector is here, it's going to stick out this way, but if you did have to change a solenoid, or you want to swap a solenoid, you know, color for color, to see if it changes anything, that can easily be done just by removing the cover. Alright, so I guess that is all for now. Oh, wait, one more thing. One more thing. You got 2 sensors here. This is your input speed sensor, which is this one, the shorter one. And this one is going to be your output speed sensor. And that is a much longer one. Okay, output here, input there. Okay, what else? What else? Let me go with my lights. Let me just turn my lights back on. All right, I guess that is it. This is an all-wheel drive. I'll give you a shot of the diff. Let's get rid of this. Move this over. All right, this is the all-wheel drive. So I got 2 final drive gears on here. One, of course, is for the pinion, and the other one, the all-wheel drive section goes into the case, and that's for the other one, for the rear drive shaft. So this is your differential. If it was just front-wheel drive, of course, you just have 1 ring gear on it. All right, so I guess that is it. So we will continue. We're going to take apart this valve body. This is the first time doing one of these, so I'm not sure about check wall locations or anything, but I guess we will see when we take it apart. All right, so we will continue more than likely tomorrow. So I will be back. All right, so we're going to continue and take the valve body apart in this MZKA. All right, so first we're going to take the regulator assembly off. Okay, so this should lift right off here. All right, got a couple of the dowel pins. Slide off the pressure. looks like we got one check ball here, which I'll point out to you. Valve and spring here. Okay. All right, now the servo body. First, we're going to disconnect the linkage. All right, so I'm just going to unhook. Going to unhook this spring right here. Okay, take it off so I don't lose it, and then that will move this out of the way. I don't believe I can move this, no, because he still has the bracket is still on there. All right, so that'll just stay for now. I don't think I can get this out. Oh, I can, okay. All right, so I took it out of the manual valve. But then I'll remove that bracket later to change that seal. Tight, so fix that. Okay. Oh, now one more. Okay, now this should lift right up. And you got three, this is the servo body. You got three, well, you got your servo here with a piston here for reverse, and you got your accumulators here. Separator plate. Okay, so we're going to take the one check ball out and valve and spring out. Okay, let's make sure there's no check balls on this side. Oh, there is. Okay, we got one more. One more check ball there. All right, so let's mark where these are going to go. One here, and we got one here. Make sure there's no more. Even if the check ball would have fallen out, you can probably see by the witness mark on the separator plate. Which there is one. I don't know if you can see that, but it's a mark, of course, that the check ball made, so you can know where the check ball goes if it happened to fall out. Okay, now we got the main valve body. gears. And just like any Honda, there's a groove in this gear that's going to face down. And the separator plate. Alright, so this I gotta get the bracket off and be able to wash that up. I'm gonna knock out the front seal. Axle seal. Right here is a race for the final drive. I'm going to wash this up in the tank. I don't need it to fall out. It actually just came right out anyway. Okay, pressure switch here. That's probably for second gear. And there's one on the back cover which is for third gear, more than likely. Here's all the stuff I had to get from the dealer. This is the inline filter, or the cooler return filter, I should say. I had to get the piston for third, because that thing was in pretty bad shape. Snap rings got very hot, a couple of snap rings. Oh, here is these are the updated tubes. If you can see that part number. All right, you get 2 updated tubes and a new bolt. How to get a new part of the cooler line. It was all twisted up and actually was leaking. And I ordered 2 pressure plates, but they sent me 3. So these are the pressure plates, and again, these are selective. So you got to measure these in millimeters, and you got to, you know, there's probably a choice of maybe 7 different ones. And when you measure, and they want to know the thickness of it, you're not measuring actually the entire thickness of the plate. Let me just get one here. You're measuring the thickness of the teeth. Measuring the thickness right here. So they don't want to know the thickness of the overall plate, just the thickness of the teeth. This is where the selection is. Okay, so just measure the teeth, and that's what and they go by millimeters. Let me just show you the end cover here. All right, here's a couple more lube tubes. And here's the end cover, a couple of feed tubes here, another pressure switch. You know, typical, almost looks like the BC LA. And it's something because every one of these that has this particular set of tubes in it, it's always bad. So again, you know, the tube is always bad, so they always have to be replaced. And I guess that is about it. So again, 2003 Honda Element, this thing didn't move too good. Actually, as soon as it hit, when it had fluid in it, because it had a constant drip from that cooler line being no good. But when we did fill it just to drive it to see what was going on with it, because it was towed here, when it hit second, there was nothing there. It just ran away and didn't move anymore. So we knew we were dealing with an issue with second, and then when we got apart, we see third was worse than second. And we're going to do this up. So I have all my parts together. The converter actually is a couple days away, but that's fine. I got my pressure switches coming. And that's about it. 2003 Honda Element MZKA 4-speed trans. Thank you guys for watching. Have a great day, and we will see you next one.